welcome you. Wherever you come from, we welcome you. Whomever you love, we welcome you. Whoever you are, we welcome you. Wherever you come from, we welcome you. Whomever you love, we welcome you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Tom Edge, and I will be presenting today's service along with Sophia Singleton and Lynn Israel. Tina Jones and Steve Israel are providing technical assistance. I want to thank our greeter, Sherry McDonald, and of course, our music assistant, Sophia. Please be aware that we are recording this service and it will be posted on our YouTube page. For privacy, we do not record during Joys and Concerns. Here at the Maumee Valley Unitarian Universalist congregation, our goal is to provide a welcoming space for people to come together to experience religious freedom, find a community, grow spiritually, and explore ways to make a difference in the lives of others. We draw on a wide variety of resources, and we're going to stretch that today, to provide stimulating and meaningful Sunday services. We encourage you to attend several services to gain a good understanding of who we are. For further news, please remember to read our weekly email, which provides comprehensive information about everything going on at MVUUC. Visitors, if you'd like to start receiving our weekly email, make sure to fill out one of the blue cards found in the seat back pockets and put the card in the box on the greeter's table. And now, please take a moment to greet your neighbors. Y'all were surprisingly well behaved there for a second. It scared me. The chalice will be lit today by our congregational president, Susan Rogers. Please join me in reading the words provided for you as we light the chalice. Across the generations, this flame comes to us. We are here for the songs, for the justice, for the community sharing the work. We are here now, too, to build something new and lasting. We are ready for a new day together. We join in the line and we carry the flame forward. Now is the time for sharing of joys and concerns. Tina, if you could please stop recording service at this time.
Good morning. It's time for our first musical selection of the day. So if you will join me in your gray books for hymn 123, Spirit of Life. We will be singing this through twice. Stand or sit as Spirit moves you to do so. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea.
Here in this church, human beings have gathered for decades seeking a higher purpose and deeper life than they could find alone. We are grateful today for each one of you that you have found your way here and that you have decided to make a commitment to this faith community. We hope that as members of this church, you will allow yourselves to know and to be known, to minister to and to be ministered unto, to love and to be loved by this congregation. The relationships we form in our church are based on needs of the soul, needs that render each of us vulnerable and therefore reliant on each other's grace and goodness and generosity of spirit. As members of this church, we pledge to be guardians of each other's spirits, to respect the ultimate privacy of each one's human struggle, and to believe in each one's inherent dignity. Today, we are proud to add 5 new members to our congregation and acknowledge 2 more who have already signed the membership book. I would like to call Lynn Israel to the podium to lead us in welcoming our new members.
Yes, what a wonderful day. Let's see here. Okay, I am going to introduce our new members. Jake. Could all of our new, well, wait a minute. No, I'm not going to have you come and all stand behind the Joys and Concerns table because this might, we got 7 people to introduce. This is going to take 15, 20 minutes, I think. Okay, so I'm just going to call you up one at a time, and then I'm going to read your biography, or you're going to introduce yourself. And then you will go, if you haven't already signed the membership book, you will go over and sign the membership book, and Susan will help you. And then Susan will give you a red rose, okay? So we are going to start with Noah Brickner. You don't mind going, it's alphabetical. Oh, wait, yeah, okay, come on up. I'm introducing you, aren't I? Okay. Noah Brickner, the 3rd of 4 children raised in Ohio with a mother who ran daycare within the home and a father who worked as a school counselor. He was instilled with a passion for music and singing from a young age. He took this passion with him into high school as he became involved in theater and in multiple choirs. I did not know that about you, Noah. He attended Bowling Green State University, obtaining a bachelor's degree in social studies education. Within the last couple of years, he has taught history in Columbus, Ohio, and science in Toledo. Noah currently lives with his partner and 2 cats who are named, the cats are Sugar and Brioche. The partner is Ethan. In his free time, he enjoys reading, watching war documentaries, and listening to bluegrass music. He is ecstatic to have found such a supportive and accepting community at MVUUC and looks forward to volunteering and integrating himself into the church family. Welcome, Noah. Woo. All right. Okay. The 19th. Oh, yeah, we put the date in there so that we can always look back and find out what date you became an official member. So I think that's kind of cool. Because we've got a book that you look back, and I think our first member signed, oh boy, I don't remember the date, but it was in 1982. But the date's in the membership book, sometime in 84. Okay, cool. All right, so now we need Phil Brock. Where's Phil? There he is. All right. You ready, Phil? Okay. He was born and raised in Northwest Ohio, and he grew up in Baptist. Is that how it's spelled? There's a town called...
No, I was raised Baptist.
Oh, he grew up Baptist. You grew up as a Baptist. Oh, my goodness. Okay, not in Baptist. Okay. After high school, Phil left for college and experienced the world and people and diversity and reason and love. His spiritual deconstruction progressed with Monty Python, Jethro Tull, Carl Sagan, and countless discussions on the problem of evil, Exodus 22, the Trinity paradox, reincarnation, paganism, etc., etc., etc. Along the way, he picked up a couple of degrees. Phil spent most of his career working in the corporate world, but 10 years ago shifted his focus to nonprofit work, primarily doing financial, employment, and life coaching. And that's for Habitat for Humanity, isn't it? Okay, cool. The money isn't great, but the rewards are much more fulfilling. Phil has spent much of his life in the secular humanist community trying to improve society and to encourage rational thinking. He is excited to have found a welcoming, affirming, and intelligent group of wonderful people to continue to grow with and make a difference in this wonderful world we share. Great. Okay, our next person is Ethan, and Ethan is very shy, but I hope you don't mind coming up and standing in front of us. You can bring Noah if you want. Huh? Noah's going to record it. Oh, excellent. Okay, Ethan, right there. All right. In the best description, he is like that chicken from Moana. Ethan Holland is the second youngest with 3 siblings. He grew up in Findlay with a trucker dad, and he was able to see almost all of the United States before the age of 9. Currently, he works managing his own cleaning business while working a main job and DoorDash, while also attending college online to get his Bachelor of Science degree in script writing. He is a published author of a poem book called Poems of a Dead Girl, sold on Amazon. He's in search for a church family, one that's not judgmental but filled with love, which is why he found a home here in this church. Welcome, Ethan. Oh. Great. Okay. Next, we have Christina McCarver. Come on up, Christina.
So I always struggle with stuff like this, but I was raised on the east side of Detroit. I went back and forth from my mother to my grandparents. My grandfather was a carpenter, and my grandmother worked for Michigan Bell. My mother struggled with addiction, and she was trying to be a rock and roll singer in the 80s. I basically grew up on a tour bus. Later on, I moved around a lot. I lived in 10 different states and 2 different countries. By the time I was 30, I hurt myself around when I was 35. I, for 10 years, struggled with opiate addiction. I later on found recovery. I've been in recovery successful for almost 7 years. I went back to school 3 years ago. I am now a CDCA, which stands for Chemical Dependency Counselor Assistant. I am moving towards becoming an LCDC, which is a Licensed Chemical Dependency Counselor. I now work at Team Recovery, helping others who have had the same struggle as me. And I'm very happy to have found this congregation, because part of my struggle as well was finding a group outside of what I grew up in to belong to that believed in reason and believed in treating other peoples with dignity. So thank you, I'm glad to be here.
The date, yeah. Okay, Sophia, it's your turn.
Hi. I will be speaking on the fly because I forgot to write something. My name is Sophia. I am the youngest of two. I have an older brother. I was born and raised in Houston, Texas, and I found myself in Ohio with a variety of life circumstances leading me here. But I was baptized as a Methodist and really only went there for the choir program. And then when my brother and I both aged out of it, my parents were looking for a different faith community that was perhaps a little more supportive of my brother's neurodivergence and my family's general hippie disposition, which led us to going to the Unitarian church that was just down the street from our Methodist church. Thank you, Metropolitan Houston. And I have a little piece of my own UU history with me today. This is the chalice that I got when I finished my coming of age ceremony in my home church. And the way that we dealt with that was writing a credo statement with the help of an adult mentor within the church. And this chalice has followed me across 2 different state moves through, let's see, parents' house, dorm, first apartment, second apartment, 4 different spaces of living, and encourages me to remember that no matter how strong or turbulent the wind may be, that my inner flame and fire is a lot more resilient than I tend to think it to be. And I've been a practicing Unitarian since I was about 12, so I've been in this faith space for about 13 years, and it has always made the most sense for me to be here. I don't like prescriptive faith because part of that feels fake and inauthentic to the lived experience if you don't interrogate why you think the things you do and believe the things you do, and have the opportunity to choose for yourself what you hold close and what your values are. And thankfully, within this faith space, that is something that we all get to declare for ourselves. And I'm very excited and honored not only to serve as your music director, but to sign the membership book as an individual body rather than a family, which is how my church membership has always been in the past. Thank you.
Let's see here. Oh, there you are. It's Jake's turn. Come on up, Jake.
Hello, I'm Jake Hayden. Technically, it's Aaron Jacob Hayden, but I've gone by Jake since I've been about, yay high to a grasshopper. The reason I mentioned the name thing is the story is that when I was born in 1968, December 15th, 1968, I was 3 months premature and was in an incubator for 3 months. And so the story was my folks weren't particularly religious, but my mom was just looking for some couple of names to pull me through when I was the size of a old-time G.I. Joe doll with a grapefruit-sized head. I heard all about that. And so my mom just got out the Bible and got to the Old Testament first and was, Aaron, Jacob, there we go, got it. And thanks to I don't have an older brother, but I do have a younger brother, but thanks to my older cousin, who is my de facto older brother that used to tease me like one, but we get along great nowadays. I believe that he used to tease me and saying that Aaron was a girl's name, and I was too young to know it was spelled differently. So like Johnny Cash's Boy Named Sue, I wanted nothing to do with the name. And so my dad was really good at coming up with nicknames for everybody. Me, my brother, the other neighborhood kids, the family pets, later the grandkids, one of his grandkids, one of my kids is right there. So anybody he could get his hands on, he would give him a nickname. So he just said Jake, and I figured that was a cowboy name, and so that stuck, much to my mom's chagrin. So that's why that's an issue, just to give you a little bit on that. Little bit on the religious background. My folks were kind of barely Methodist, and they left the church when I was 6 because a very conservative pastor took over, and they really didn't want anything to do with that. And my mom always felt guilty about that, and I always said that was the best decision she could ever do, is to make me, allow me to kind of float around and find my own way. So in that whole journey, I went from, pretty much agnostic, and then for a while I was very angrily atheist because I had a aunt, luckily not by blood, who became, at the time in the early 80s, they called born-again Christian, who was haranguing my grandmother, who was dying of cancer, and telling her that she was going to go to hell if she didn't accept the Lord and Christ as a personal savior, a regular registered trademark at the top of that. And so I became quite of a reactive, hateful atheist for a while, not a, I think, a good, conscientious atheist, but a reactive one. And then I kind of warmed up to things, and in the 90s, when I was in my 20s, I actually got very interested in Buddhism. So much so that I went to a temple in Ann Arbor, and there was actually a Rinpoche from Tibet that went there, and I went and with some other people went to what they called an Amitabha initiation, where I got a lock of my hair clipped, and I got a karma name. And the karma name I thought was just kind of cool and groovy at the time, but I was just more like, got a karma name. And it didn't really start making sense until just about a year ago. And my karma name is Karma Monlam Jampal, which stands for Bodhisattva Inspiration, someone who is here to help inspire other people. And again, that just has started to kind of come to fruition lately. So I had been, not going into a ton of detail, but I had been, for anybody who probably cared to listen, not too happy with the way things have been going lately in society, and I'll leave it at that. And I'm also, as a profession, I'm a therapist, mental health therapist, and I've been doing it for almost 30 years now. And I would see a lot of people that were, because I didn't know until after I hired on to the agency, catered to a lot of like evangelical Christian folks, and particularly we were kind of a pipeline for a focus on the family people, and so I dealt with a lot of people that, I mean, I had some ones that were no problem to, but some that were very difficult to work with, and some that would give me the purity test as soon as their first session they saw me, when, you know, they had to ask me if I was a Christian as they saw it, and they would walk out if I wasn't. So I decided lately that I figured, well, all right, people keep telling me to, you know, as far as the Christian thing, to read the Bible. So I've actually been doing that, and have even been focusing a lot on the stuff that was cut out, the Apocrypha, which I consider to be the best stuff, including the Gospel of Thomas, which I think is one of the finest pieces of literature ever written. Actually, it brought me to tears when I read it. And I am here maybe to help myself and to help other people, but you know, I'm kind of interested in that person that they named that religion after and what they really were about. And since I'm in the Midwest, people seem to gravitate to that more than the Buddhist stuff, which I still am keeping. And was looking for people that kind of had a similar headset, and I checked you guys out, and you guys seem to have that too as well.
We try.
And it was good, because I was getting to a low point where my wife was asking me what was wrong, and I told her once, yeah, I'm just waiting to die. And I figured, well, and then I thought about that a bit, and I figured, you know, I don't want to be that guy. So I want to be this guy. So here I am.
Welcome. Oh, one more. And where is she? Sherry. Yeah, Sherry McDonald, and I hope I'm not stealing a little of your thunder, but she was Jake's boss how many years ago?
About 20.
20 years ago. They worked together. She was his boss. I think that's the most fun connection. Go for it, Jerry.
Well, I'm Sherry McDonald, and I signed the book in 1999 with my husband and I. And my two children graduated from the RE program, and they still have, it was really neat to see your chalice, because they had this really cute little box that has the chalice on it. And, you know, the things they want to keep in life but not carry around from home to home, they kept at my house, and I have both of their little boxes. So that's really precious. And we still have their little Buddhas from when they were in RE and they had to use clay and make a design of what they thought Buddha looked like. So we still have those, and they're adorable from their RE program. So anyway, we were here till the kids graduated RE, and then for the rest of their young adulthood, we went to Unity of Toledo and the Buddhist Temple of Toledo. Learned a lot. We came back when we went to the funeral for Winnie and Bob's daughter, who they went on the trip with, and we shared a room with her when we went to Boston. And so that helped me realize that I see all of you around town, and if you've ever been here, I still assume you are one of us, and I stop you and we hug and we talk and we shake hands and stuff, and then I realized, why am I not going back? I can do this. So when my honey left me a year ago, we had different ideas about churches and organized religion, and I realized, oh, now I can sign the book again, because I can make my own decisions. So, do I need to sign it again?
But I must have skipped right past it, so sign it again. we should have just, Tom, I don't think there's any time for your sermon. Oh my gosh, well, I'll try to wrap this up real quick. Today, we welcome into our community these new members who've chosen to make the commitment. Yes, yes. We're so glad you're with us, and normally we read kind of a call and response thing where we say, are you going to be nice to us? And you say, we will, and then we say, okay, we'll be nice to you, and that kind of thing. But we're not going to do it because we don't have time. But we will do, yes, the new member covenant. And read it all together with me. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth in love, and to help one another. I think that says it all, honestly. So I think, is it your turn, Tom? Oh, time to sing a song? Okay, skip the song. All righty.
Come on, people, we gotta move. It's got stage directions for this, for goodness sake. Let's see. Exactly. We've got time in the bank. So, today's opening words come from the French writer Roland Barthes. Thus, the function of the wrestler is not to win. It is to go exactly through the motions which are expected of him. It is said that judo contains a hidden symbolic aspect. Even in the midst of efficiency, its gestures are measured, precise but restricted, drawn accurately but by a stroke without volume. Wrestling, on the contrary, offers excessive gestures, exploited to the limit of their meaning. In judo, a man who is down is hardly down at all. He rolls over, he draws back, he eludes defeat, or, if the latter is obvious, he immediately disappears. In wrestling, a man who is down is exaggeratedly so, and completely fills the eyes of the spectators with the intolerable spectacle of his powerlessness. This function of grandiloquence is indeed the same as that of ancient theater, whose principal language and props, masks and buskins, conquered in the exaggeratedly visible explanation of a necessity. The gesture of the vanquished wrestler signifying to the world a defeat which, far from disguising, he emphasizes and holds like a pause in music, corresponds to the mask of antiquity meant to signify the tragic mode of the spectacle. In wrestling, as on the stage in antiquity, one is not ashamed of one's suffering. One knows how to cry. One has a liking for tears.
For those of you who signed the membership book this morning, no take-backs. Also, Lynn has given me permission, if you have not yet submitted your pledges for next year, to show up in this costume with that music blaring at some random point this week, okay? On a very different Sunday, August 25th, 1985, to be exact, my world changed forever. See, my brother Mike and I were playing out in the woods near our family's apartment with our neighbor Lee. And it was one of those muggy August days, overcast, feels like the sky's about to burst at any second. So we weren't surprised when we felt those first drops of rain coming down. We hightailed it back to my family's apartment. We got there right before the deluge began that would keep us confined indoors for the rest of the day. And having nothing else to do, we plopped down in the living room and turned on the television. Now, I had no way of knowing that back in the 80s, the company that is now WWE used to be WWF before the World Wildlife Fund sued them. I had no idea that they used to visit Philadelphia once a month. It was always on a Saturday, and there was a local cable station, Prism, that would record everything and then play that card in its entirety on Sunday afternoon. And this happened to be one of those Sunday afternoons. And Prism, for those in the 80s who remember the old faux wooden cable box, Prism was the first station on our box. We turn on the television, and there it was. My brother and I were talking about this recently. Neither one of us can remember the very first match we saw. But we remember the match that made us fans. It was a match for the World Tag Team titles. The champions, the U.S. Express, Barry Windham, Mike Rotunda, managed by Captain Lou Albano. For those that don't remember Captain Lou, go back, watch the video for Cyndi Lauper's Girls Just Want to Have Fun. He's the dad in there. Against the Dream Team, Brutus Beefcake, Greg the Hammer Valentine, managed by Johnny V, our dastardly villains in this little play. Well, okay, I'm going to skip to the thrilling end of the match. I won't take you through the logistics of tag team match, the classical structure, etc. No, we'll get to the end, and it looks like the good guys are going to win. It looks like they're going to keep their championship. Barry Windham's pounding on Greg Valentine, and then Johnny V hands a cigar to Brutus Beefcake, a lit cigar that he rubs in Barry Windham's eyes, and Barry Windham is writhing in pain on the mat. Valentine drops the elbow, covers him up. 1, 2, 3, new champions. Now, let me stress, we were new to this. I swear, Mike and I thought Barry Windham was, if not blinded for life, possibly dying right in front of us on a television screen. And, you know, in our defense, I was 9. He was a month away from turning 8. And we didn't know that there was some planning that went into this. Now, as hard as this might be for all of you to believe today, as a 9-year-old, I was not yet familiar with the writings of the French cultural theorist Roland Barthes. Nor did I know that 28 years earlier, he had published a chapter on professional wrestling, likening its storytelling to that of ancient myth and classical theater. To him, the beauty of wrestling was that it presented these clear good versus evil narratives, with the characters embodying exaggerated versions of ourselves. The physical contest was simply their method of storytelling. Indeed, he couldn't understand why people tried to dismiss wrestling because its outcomes were predetermined. For Bart, this simply meant that wrestling could be viewed through the same lens through which we look at literature, film, or the performing arts. And what he recognized back in 1957 was exactly what drew our attention in 1985. With no prior knowledge or background, we were able to easily recognize who was good with a capital G and who was bad with a capital B. And more importantly, we picked up on the clues that told us how we were supposed to react. And oh, it got a reaction. I immediately jumped down that rabbit hole. I was looking through TV Guide to find every instance of WWE wrestling every week. About a month later, I discovered, wait a minute, there are other promotions. This is not the only game in town. Soon, I'm watching WWE. I'm watching Jim Crockett before it became WCW. I'm watching AWA, based out of Minneapolis. I'm watching World Class Championship Wrestling out of Dallas-Fort Worth. Florida Championship Wrestling. The UWF, which was the old Mid-South territory stretch from like Oklahoma to Mississippi. And every now and then, on random Saturday nights, there was this one cable station that would play wrestling from Hawaii, where I first heard the names Peter and Leah Maivia. Leah Maivia, the first woman to head up a major promotion, but you might know Peter and Leah Maivia better as the maternal grandparents of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I had the action figures, I had the sleeping bag, I owned, and this is a musical album, the wrestling album 1 and 2. I had the magazines that treated all of this as legitimate sport. Later, thanks to one of my aunts, I had one of the groundbreaking dirt sheets, the behind-the-scenes looks through newsletters at what was happening, how decisions were made, who was moving from where to where. And for much of the next 7 or 8 years, I devoted way more time than was healthy to watching and reading about pro wrestling. And then at some point in high school, it just it lapsed. I started getting busy with studies, with extracurriculars. I didn't have the free time I used to watch this on my own. And I became kind of a casual fan. I tune in every now and then, but I lost a lot of the passion. And by the mid-90s, I wasn't watching at all. I would hear updates from my brother occasionally, including the time he went to an ECW show and the arena caught on fire, and he said, "I nearly died. It was the best night of my life." But with that, I missed the big revival. I missed the Monday Night Wars. I missed the WWE taking over its only real competition. I missed the rise of all of those big stars, from Steve Austin to The Rock to John Cena. But here's the thing. I never forgot how that period made me feel. I never forgot what that meant to me in the moment when I was a fan. And so when I got older, I started reading books about wrestling when I was a kid and before I was even born. I started listening to some of the podcasts where people talked about their adventures in wrestling during the period when I knew it best. And trust me, there are some stories out there about life on the road. I started rewatching the old matches from my youth and remembering how they made me feel. And slowly, ever so slowly, it started to remind me of why I got into it in the first place, and by accident, exposing me to the new stuff as well. The more I learned through this journey, however, the more I realized the complexity of this business, of its stories and the people behind it. In some strange ways, the same things that drew me to wrestling in the first place and that later renewed that interest are the very ideas that drew me to this congregation, and especially two notions, that of justice and of transformation. Look at my wrestling origin story. I was motivated by the righteous indignation of an angry 9-year-old who understood that what I had just seen on TV was completely unfair. The most captivating wrestling stories of my childhood involved justice. Good guys tried to right the wrongs that had been committed against them. Feuds escalated a week at a time, and all of this built towards a grand climax, a grudge match in a cage, a title change, one of the competitors, and not always the good guy, getting the final word. When justice was not served, it only made us fans hungry for more, longing for someone else to come along and restore all that was right with the world. Along the way, however, wrestling also taught me we all have the capacity for good and evil. In some cases, we rooted for good guys doing the exact same things as the villains, but we rationalized that it was somehow different. Sometimes good guys became bad guys, and vice versa. Villains delivered painful truths. Motivations changed, often due to greed, vanity, jealousy, or ambition. Indeed, change and transformation were constant themes in the wrestling stories we watched. Transformation did not only mean switching sides from good to bad, they moved from one promotion to another, one identity to another, and embraced change as a reality of their profession. There are so many examples of that, but I love coming back to a man named Oriel Paris. Canadian native, started wrestling in Canada in the 1960s as a one-eyed Irish villain named Red McNulty. And when that didn't take off, he took advantage of the Cold War. He changed his name professionally to the Russian Bear, Ivan Koloff, and he stuck with that beyond the Cold War itself. He wrestled his last professional match in 2013. He also became a minister, and he officiated at my half-sister's wedding, but that's a completely side issue. James Harris, huge athletic man from Mississippi. His weakness, he wasn't great on the mic, so what do? They put some makeup on him, a tribal mask, they had a manager speaking on his behalf, and suddenly you had Kamala, the Ugandan giant, who became a huge name across multiple territories. When Mark Calloway broke into the business, he bounced around between Texas Red, Boris Dragu, the Commando, the Master of Pain, and Mean Mark Callis. And then he jumped to WWE, rechristened himself as The Undertaker, and spent the next 30 years creating one of the biggest legacies in wrestling history. As I became more aware of the business, I started noticing people from other promotions popping up in new places with new outfits, new names, new identities, and eventually developed a healthy respect for their creativity and their ability to adapt. But justice and transformation were not only taking place in the stories I saw on television. They were also behind the scenes, usually initiated by the wrestlers themselves. Legally, wrestlers are considered independent contractors, even as they signed exclusive deals with one company. This has led to many fights for just pay, benefits, better working conditions. In the 1980s, Jesse Ventura, yes, that Jesse Ventura, tried to unionize the talent in WWE. He recognized that only their combined efforts could challenge an unjust system that literally put their bodies on the line for profit. The effort was thwarted because allegedly Hulk Hogan, the highest paid person in the company, didn't see the need for a union and ratted him out, leading to Jesse Ventura's expulsion from WWE. Those unjust working conditions continued for too long. Wrestlers died prematurely in alarming numbers due to injuries, accidents, substance abuse. The grueling travel and performance schedule through the early 2000s meant that many performers self-medicated to manage physical pain and mental illness. Performers died in the ring or on the road. For some, justice was never found, and for others, the struggle is ongoing. Janelle Grant, a former WWE employee, is currently fighting a federal lawsuit against the promotion's longtime owner, Vince McMahon, alleging sexual battery, trafficking, and emotional abuse. A separate lawsuit in Maryland against both Vince and Linda McMahon, the current Secretary of Education, alleges that they ignored the abuse of 8 ring boys in the 1980s by a former employee. But justice was also recognizing that wrestling could be a vehicle for positive social change. In 1957, a white wrestler named Rock Monroe was driving in the Deep South. He picked up a black hitchhiker, paying him $50 to do some of the driving for him on his way to a TV interview. When they arrived, people at the studio seemed angry that Monroe was treating this black man with respect. And so in a show of defiance, Monroe put his arm around the hitchhiker and kissed him on the cheek. Supposedly, one of the women working at the studio, invoking again the Cold War era, was alarmed by this and called him a no-good Sputnik. And the wrestling name Sputnik Monroe was born. A few years later, wrestling as a villain in Memphis, he developed a big following among black audience members. And he used his clout to his advantage. He had helped grow Memphis into a major territory, going from a few hundred people attending every week to about 7,000 people every week. And he threatened to withhold his services if they did not begin to racially integrate the audience. Ellis Auditorium listened to him, and it was a major step forward for the progress of integration in Memphis as a whole. Of course, local police held this against him. They constantly served him fines when he went to black establishments for a drink or a bite to eat after the matches. I started learning these things as I began reading and watching about the older history, including stuff from my childhood. And slowly, that began to guide me back towards becoming a fan again. And when I started watching new stuff, I noticed the transformations and the continued calls for justice. I saw that in contrast to much of what I watched as a kid, women were featured much more prominently, and their matches were of much higher caliber. Note, Japanese wrestling, way ahead of the curve on that. We had a lot of catching up to do. There was much more talk about protecting the physical and mental health of the talent, including paying them during extended breaks due to injury. Contemporary stars like AJ Lee and Becky Lynch have written movingly about their struggles with mental health and body image. Last year, when Chicago public teachers went on strike, Chicago native CM Punk did a live interview on Monday Night Raw wearing his Chicago Teachers Union sweatshirt in solidarity. Similarly, Sami Zayn, a Canadian-born wrestler of Syrian descent, regularly wears the colors of the Palestinian flag to show his support for their cause. Even for somebody like Chelsea Green, this kind of Karen-esque villain character, when she visits Florida, she breaks out her rainbow wrestling gear or entrance gear in defiance of Ron DeSantis' ban on certain expressions of pride. There's so much more I want to say. Trust me, if circumstances were different, we would have like videos, there'd be clips. I'd be taking you through this.
Would we have a wrestling match right here?
Tina, I've got to talk to you about Sunday service committee stuff later. Okay. I may need a bigger budget. No, trust me, there are certain things I would love to just build a whole thing around. Dusty Rhodes' Hard Times promo 1985 would be a perfect subject for one of these lectures. But I'm also going to be honest with you. I thought when Lynn came to me and asked about doing the new member induction today, I did briefly think, should I change this to a more serious topic? But then I realized it would be really disingenuous to do so. So many of us are here today, so many of us became Unitarian Universalists because we were wrestling with our faiths. We struggled to find houses of worship that welcomed our authentic selves. We wanted to acknowledge the divine within ourselves without sacrificing our commitments to science and reason. We sought communion and community with people who believed that a better world is possible, but it is not inevitable. And guess what? You have found that place here. a place that welcomes you on your good days and your bad days, a place that supports your transformation into a new and better self, a place that knows eternal truths do not always come from a holy book, but can come from the entire culture around us. Let's leave behind us the battles that drove us from other faith traditions and continue to unite around these shared principles. We are a strong-minded people who will continue to wrestle with our personal faith journeys. But in the end, no matter what, the outcome is predetermined. You will always have a spiritual home here. May it be so. All right. We're going to do some creative stuff to get you out of here as early as possible. So let's skip ahead to the offertory. Now let there be an offering to sustain and strengthen this church. Skip ahead to extinguishing the chalice. Thank you. So please join me in the words for extinguishing our chalice. It is our work shared with each other in covenant that creates and sustains this beloved community. We extinguish this chalice, but its light lives on in the directions we have chosen today. The light of this faith lives on in us together, in our hearts, minds, bodies, and spirits. Amen and blessed be. All right, before our closing song, we have time for announcements. Go ahead.
Hello. I am announcing the congregational meeting on May 3rd, just after the service, about 12:15, grab coffee. We're going to be voting in the new board. Oh, and it's potluck Sunday also. Yeah, so, I mean, we're just voting in the new board and the budget, so I'm hoping we might be able to do that and then do the potluck, but we'll see. We'll see how hungry people are. And the other thing, too, is we do have a pledge board that Lynn was working on, and we just wanted to make it clear, because the pledge is about not just financial support, but also about supporting us with volunteerism. So if you fill in your pledge form and you are volunteering and you're not able at this point, to support us financially, that's fine. Your name will go on the pledge board as well. So, thank you.
And to clarify, we actually have two pledge boards right now. The pledge board that we started with is that one that says Better Together and has the hearts all over it. That one's currently going to be set aside until the campaign is completely over. The new one is out in the social hall. It's 6 feet long, and it shows how we're progressing towards our goal. So if today's service did not make you want to donate all of your life savings to MBUUC, I tell you, we can't do any better than this, I don't think, honestly. So yeah, see me afterwards. I've got all the pledge materials there. You can take a look at our progress board. We're a little more than halfway towards our goal. Thank you.
And after this is all over, please stay and eat some of the enormous amount of food that is out there today. Thank you.
Just a quick reminder, since Lisa is not here today, that the blood drive is happening in about 2 Saturdays, May 2nd, from 9 to 2, I believe.
Today is Magic Day. We're going through, over the next, we meet once a month, we're going through, and I'm introducing participants to some of the major gaffed decks that professional magicians use. Today we're going to explore what's called the stripper deck. Ooh, there are no pictures. So join us at 1 o'clock. We'll be meeting in the social hall, I believe. So 1 o'clock today. Thank you.
I'm Ruth, and I have petitions again. I have the one from last week for Joe DeMar to get on the ballot in November. He's running for Wood County Commissioner and needs signatures. So if you're a registered voter in Wood County and didn't catch me last week, I've got that one. But at the Echo Fair, I also got a petition against the data center. So if you haven't signed that and want to see me after.
Let me quickly reiterate for the blood drive, of course, we encourage people to sign up for slots to donate, but if you cannot, you can also contribute food, you can volunteer that day. There's plenty of work always to be done, and contact Lisa Merrill Price if you have any questions. Tina, do we have any other announcements online? Excellent. All right. After a closing song, please stay for food, coffee hour, and Magic Sunday. And pledges as well. And thank you, of course, for joining us today.